Greetings, good evening to you. Welcome to the Ghost N.E.A.R Show, where we explore various aspects of the paranormal. I am your host, Keith Johnson, the co-founder of New England Anomalies Research. And big surprise, I have a very, very special guest with me this evening. My good friend, you've seen him on Ghost Hunters, you've seen him on Ghost Nation, you've seen him on a bunch of things. My very, very dear friend, we worked together for many years, Steve Gonsalves.
Well, thank you, Keith. Hello.
How are you?
What an introduction.
Good to see you, Steve.
Good to see
really,
you,
really good to
as
see you.
always. Not often enough, but glad to be here. Hello.
Yep. I haven't seen you since Gettysburg.
That's right. Yeah, been a couple months. But there was a good clip before that. I'm glad that Connecticut and then Gettysburg was able to reunite us a few times.
Yes.
And now here we are.
Mm-hmm. And we go back quite a long ways. I mean, before the TV shows.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, I think it's hard to remember the exact year, but I probably met you maybe in 1997, perhaps?
Yeah, around there.
96, something like that.
It was around there. It was around there.
Long time ago. I always took a lot of inspiration, and of course, every time we worked together was a moment of education for me. So that was always really awesome.
Fans of the TV shows sometimes have the misconception that it all started with the TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
And it really went on long before then. I started when I was, officially when I was 17 years old.
Wow.
You know, I was getting into it when I was 15 years old, but I officially started when I was 17 years old. And of course, one of my first cases became very well known through other people and friends of ours and networking. And Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Yes.
Yes. Yep. I began working with them. And you have experience with Ed and Lorraine as well.
I do. Yeah. Not to the extent of you, for sure. But I started as a fan, of Ed and Lorraine and really inspired by their work. And when I was really young, 12 or so, would go see them talk, and then was very fortunate to work on a few cases with them. And that was in my very early 20s, late teens, very early 20s.
Well, that's a good age to start.
What
because it was a controlled situation. Not going out just by yourself, wandering through old houses and everything like that. It was a controlled situation with two experts who were very, very experienced.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, it was really cool to see them. And one was a case that I handed over to them. I was working on a case in my 20s and handed it over to Ed and Lorraine, and they, really brought that case to resolution. Didn't know where to turn with it.
Right.
And that was really, really cool to see how they, really thought, I guess, highly of the case, for them to take it and really take it as one of their own. It was really awesome.
Great. That's wonderful. And sometimes you mentioned that you actually knew and worked with Ed and Lorraine Warren. People say, you knew the Warrens? You knew them? Yes, actually, a lot of us did.
Yeah.
Some of our close-knit group did.
Absolutely. I feel like a lot of people, they just seem like Ed and Lorraine were just long time ago.
Right.
But you rewind even 10 years ago, Lorraine is still very active.
Exactly.
You rewind 15 years ago or so, and Ed is still, and they aren't that far removed from current time.
Right.
It's very, we know a lot of people that worked with them and for them.
Yeah. Well, both of them were investigating right up. They never really kind of officially retired. They worked up until the time they were physically incapable of doing so.
Mm-hmm.
And how many people can you say that about?
Yeah. Well, it's apparent that they had a real passion for what they did, and I think that passion was there even before the newspapers and books and TV shows and whatnot. Their passion was there, and you're not going to let go of that just because you're not necessarily working anymore. They I think, still wanted to be involved in the community and the research, and everyone loves a good scare.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
You know, you may not be afraid of the paranormal, but we'd all be silly to say we don't get startled, you know,
Yeah,
every
exactly.
now and again. You know, definitely like, oh my gosh, that just happened. Holy, you know,
Right,
SHIT.
right. Sometimes in retrospect, did I just see that? Did I just experience that?
All the time.
Well, that was a good starter for you. Good experience. Couldn't ask for a better one.
No, it was great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then found, you know, Jay and at the time Rhode Island Paranormal.
Right.
Shortly after that.
Rhode Island Paranormal.
Yeah.
And that's how you and I met.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, was it Rhode Island Paranormal when we met? It was, because it became TAPS when Grant eventually came.
It was around that same time. All around, it all seemed to happen at the same time.
Right.
And Grant came in, and also I know that Jay was telling me that he needed somebody, well, you needed somebody who was into demonology, some things about demonology because of a case you were working on. So I said, well, I'll be great to hook up with him. That'll be great. I'd love to. And that's how we met.
Thank you. I remember that. I think the first time we worked together, I don't think she lives around here anymore, but Fran, you remember
yes.
Fran?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Fran
fantastic
Ford,
person. And I think it was you and her came, we met up.
That's right, we did.
Yep. We did. And then I think we were like, hey, this is fun. Let's go to dinner or something. I think we all went to dinner and just talked and formed a working relationship from then, you know, because we would go on cases together even outside of TAPS, obviously. And you came on one of my teams, and so fun.
Yep. Friends, good people.
Oh, yeah,
for
sure.
We worked on a lot of cases together.
Yeah.
And so then as time went on, we became involved in more and more cases, and it got to the point where, of course, and Sandra joined TAPS as well. And then we started hooking up with you, like, quite frequently, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I'd say, well, between both of the teams and TAPS and your own cases, and I mean, there were at some points multiple cases per weekend.
Yes.
You know, so there'd be times when, you know, there'd be a few months when I'd see you every weekend.
Yeah.
You know, and then there'd be a little time when not so much. And then also we did talks together. And and
adult education in Boston.
That's right. And we had meetings, you know, every couple of weeks. We end up in a Starbucks somewhere, you know, talking about ghosts and upcoming cases. And I remember there would be dues collected. Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't realize, but back then, you know, film was, we would go through $200, $300, $400 a case. To buying and developing film.
Right.
Every client wanted
our own equipment, and sometimes built our own equipment. And
that's right. So it was like, hey, you know,
exactly.
You got to pay for this stuff somehow.
Exactly. And we didn't have the society, you know, like watching over us, you know, supplying us with all this. I always used to make a joke about that. Like some people think we have a society that, like Man from U.N.C.L.E. and everything like that, like secret agents, they supply us with everything. No, when we started out, it was just us.
Back then it was.
Expenses.
And it was all paid for by the team. We all had to buy our own stuff. And it isn't now, you know, like it is now where you can, even now, you know, if there's a team, you definitely, you have to buy all of your own equipment. And it can be quite expensive. Yeah. But a lot of it's so accessible now that, you know, you can get a really good EMF meter, you know, for $30, $40. Back then it was a couple $100 just to get the, you know, the Lutron or whatever. Now, you know, things are a bit more accessible. Even thermal cameras, you know, you can get a really good thermal camera for $400 or $500. Back then it was, if you could even get one, $4 or $5 grand.
Yeah,
know?
Exactly. So based on all your experience, what is the most important equipment, would you personally say, based on your experience over the years? It
may not be the most scientific, you know, or the most sort of, but for me, it's going to be an infrared camera or a full spectrum if you can, even though it's not full spectrum, but more spectrums.
Right.
I like that, you know, because you can record, you can document your experiences. You're documenting video and audio at the same time, so you have the possibility of EVPs and capturing phenomena. And if you don't have a way to document what you're experiencing, then it's just a story. It really is. No matter who you're telling, no matter what, it could be my best friend, it could be Tango, it could be Jay, it could any. It's just a story to them unless I have, something to show.
Exactly.
But then also, if you add infrared, now we can see everything in the visible spectrum, right? The red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, and everything. But now, adding infrared, you can see things in the infrared spectrum. You can see things in, ultraviolet if you add more. So that's why, for me, that device is pretty. What about you?
Oh, it's funny because it's used to be well known that one of my best pieces of equipment was a small Panasonic tape recorder and a video camera.
Yeah.
That's what I started out with, and actually they worked very well. Worked very well for capturing evidence, EVP, and sometimes coupling with the video and the voice recorder. So that's been my favorites.
Of course.
It's not too technologically advanced, but it works very well.
You always had that analog recorder.
Yeah.
Do you still use analog?
When I can. They've been dying on me lately, so I have to.
Sure.
I'm in between. I have to get another one now.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, there was an very interesting case we worked on, and it was shortly before Ghost Hunters and the like. It's just before the show started. It was in Lewiston, Maine. Remember that, Lewiston, Maine. And it's actually a case of possession involving an older woman. And while we were there, she began manifesting because I prayed. I think it was before you came. It was the first time we came. Sandra and I were there, and N.E.A.R Paranormal had called us in, and I began doing a house blessing. And while I was doing the Lord's Prayer, the entity manifested upstairs. The woman it actually started coming through, and had to rush up and take care of that. But while you were there, very, very interesting, there was a family member who had a room there that was locked up, and he wouldn't let anybody in it. And some people wanted to get in it for the investigation, to see what was in there, and he started really panicking. And you were very, very essential in calming him down. So I mentioned that you were once a Springfield police officer.
Yeah, Western Massachusetts. I worked a few different towns out there, and I did use that. At least that sort of
like negotiation tactics. To calm somebody down who's in a very perilous way emotionally, and you had a very calming way about you to talk him down and everything. I mean, talk him down. He didn't have gunpoint on us, but he was very, very upset.
Yeah, no, he was very upset. He was, and we didn't know what he would sort of do. He had the door to a room padlocked and from the outside, and even his mother didn't know why or what was in that room, and there was a whole bunch of chaos in that case, and I remember that, and it's not like I said, let me put my police work to,
Right. No, you were.
But looking back, you say, okay, I guess I did learn some of that, way to kind of massage a situation through police work, and I remember, Jay and even you and Grant, being like, hey, why don't you talk to him? You've been kind of trained in these.
Right.
And he was ready to let us go in that room and everything after that.
That's good.
Yeah.
Now, of course, then the TV shows began, and you've been involved with Ghost Hunters since the beginning. Of course, there was Ghost Hunters, Ghost Nation, and then came back as Ghost Nation, and then Ghost Hunters again.
Yeah.
Got a lot of adventures on that, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. The amount of time, and sometimes I'm sure you look around and you say, gosh, we've been doing this. At least in the public eye for 20 years now. It's really crazy to think
I think
about.
how old am I now? Right.
Exactly.
I've been doing this for so long.
Yep. But it's it's really awesome to see how far the field has come. And who knows if it has to do with our show or if it doesn't. But I was there before, and you would do a paranormal talk, and there'd be 20 people there, 30 people there.
Right.
You were kind of made fun of in public. You know, we didn't really tell many people what what we did.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, you know, by season 2 of our show, all of a sudden, houses that were haunted were selling for more money, and you were getting chased in the mall for autographs.
Right.
Like, what happened?
Yeah.
You know, we were nerds a year ago.
Yeah, I know. It seemed like it was overnight that it just happened. Yeah,
it did. So that is really cool to see how far it's come, you know, and to be even an ancillary part of that is really cool.
Yeah, and I know you get asked this a lot. What's one of your adventures with ghost hunters or Ghost Nation that really sticks out for you, that really is in your memory? I know there's so many, multiple, and
yeah, there are a lot, and there are some for different reasons. You know, when it comes to, I'd say, the most active or the most intensely active place for me, you know, I always think about Waverly Hills.
Oh yeah,
in Louisville, and just to run around that place, it's like being at Disney World, quite honestly. You know, it's just amazing. But then you know, we love residential cases.
Yes.
You know, and
exactly.
that's where you're really helping people.
Right.
You know, the owner of Waverly Hills doesn't need to know if it's haunted or not. You know, she doesn't need help. You know, it's just fun for us.
Right.
You know, but
exactly.
where you're doing these houses and you're actually
doing interventions, and like Ed and Lorraine Warren did.
Oh yeah, of course. You know, there was a case where we were able to show that, you know, to parents that they thought, and this is true, you know, it's crazy to think about, but the daughter died in her sleep, you know, and the parents were convinced that a ghost came in the night and you know, took her life. But through our investigation and research, you know, it really opened up a whole light of you know, peace and comfort and joy for the family, and you know, when you're able to do things like that, it's really like, wow, you know, we really are, whether you believe in ghosts or you don't, we really are helping people. You know, it sounds silly to say, but
it's like, how many times you've heard, you don't think I'm crazy? It's like, you know, it is such a comfort to know that you're there, and you're there to help. Whatever's going on, you're there to intervene, and you're not judging them.
Yeah.
And they see that, you know, there's a level of humor that goes along with this. You know, you want to, you know, with people, show them that it's not all intensely serious, that it's not all horror. It's people dealing with strange, unusual situations that need some help and understanding. And just somebody sometimes just hold their hand and believe them, you know, not scoff at them and things.
Even how open the paranormal is now, you know, and I still hear, maybe not every day, but every signing, every appearance, every so often, you know, people say, thank you, because of you. Like, people don't think I'm crazy anymore. And even now, how open everybody is with the paranormal, talking about it, accepting it, people still feel like they need that validation of, gosh, now, you know, my friends believe me that what I'm seeing is actually real. And it's weird to hear. You know, I feel like people should be, especially in this day and age, pretty free to talk about it and not be, you know, and like you said, it's not always doom and gloom and death and destruction. Right. You know, there are hauntings of love and of devotion and family, and it's not always this grisly tale.
And when people say, you've made a difference in my life, that's no better feeling than that. And you've been able to really, really help somebody.
Yep, very true. Very, very true. It's like our version of jumping on an airplane, I guess. You know, like,
yes, right.
That's how we get our thrills.
Exactly.
Through that. Because I'm not jumping out of any airplanes. So.
Well, another thing, congratulations on this. You have a book out.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Congratulations on that. Want to tell us about your book and what we can expect when reading it?
Yeah, thank you. It's called A Life with Ghosts.
A Life with Ghosts.
Yep. And it's basically just my career up to this date, the cases that have meant a lot to me, whether they're on the show or not on the show. And they had to have some impact on me, whether it be emotionally or just for the scare of it, and really things that I've been able to learn through the paranormal in terms of maybe even how I'm living my own life. Don't try this because it didn't work out so good for her. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because we learn a lot by digging through history and what happened to people and decisions they made and where it led them. And then also, to go much, much deeper than a TV show ever could. In the longest you ever get on a TV show is maybe 2 or 3 weeks at a location. Best case scenario. Early ghost hunters, sometimes it was just 2 or 3 days.
Right.
And the average case really does take maybe 4 months to 2 years.
True.
True.
So that's a very good point. Very good point that a lot of people don't realize, that it's not just we're going to here, there, and everywhere. It's just really sometimes these things do take a great amount of time.
Absolutely. Yep. So in the book, go really deep like that.
Yeah. What can people learn from that, from your personal experiences, the way you're sharing?
Well, I mean, if they want to get into the paranormal, it really will sort of teach them the mindset we have, because I go pretty deep into, the show, or even if you're an investigator yourself, you may be thinking, okay, why did they do that? Why do investigators do this? Why do they say that? They always say this. Why do they do this? Why is it like this? So whenever there is an experience I'm talking about, I go really deep into, why we make certain decisions and why we, take certain investigation methods over others, and why we use certain techniques and different pieces of equipment for certain, really go deeper than a TV show ever can.
Very good.
So a lot of that, and also a little bit of, paying a bit of respect to the investigators who came before us, and of course the lives of, because we all think of the ghosts and how fun it is, especially the people who read and watch.
Yes, right.
But they don't really, realize, hey, that was a mother, father, a son, a brother, a daughter, or whatever, and really, put a little humility back into it.
That's a great word, humility. Very good. Excellent. And my brother Carl and I, of course, we've been at conventions. We have books out there. And once in a while, people will come and ask us, do you have, when I read this book, will it explain how to investigate, how to go into people's cases that, it's a residential case and everything? I've had people ask that, and I said, yes, it does explain that. So I'm glad your book does too.
Yeah, a little bit. It's definitely not a guide or an instruction manual by
but people can get a lot from your personal experiences.
Absolutely. It will give them a little bit of a scaffolding, definitely in that mindset, at least in my mindset of, in the paranormal world, 2 is a coincidence, 3 is a pattern, that sort of thing. Give them those basic nuggets of information. Right.
And of course, we've all been on cases where not a lot happens, and it turns out there is a logical explanation. People may be, just frightened by noises they hear and things, which often do have a rational explanation.
Absolutely.
What do you say about people who come in and they want to get something happening? They want to get evidence so bad that they start jumping the gun and they start really trying to cuss out the spirit and, use language like that and everything, which is very, very immature to do that. But like, that's why humility is a good thing. Reality, humility. What would you advise people about doing that?
If it comes out naturally, because you can be in a heightened situation, and if something is terrifying and you cuss or use, you can look past that. But if you're just investigating and being
I understand people react and things. Right.
That
just to get a reaction.
Yeah, no, I don't like that. It's not my style of investigating.
Right.
Provocation or to provoke. I think that is a valid technique, but a technique to be used like a tool. If you need a hammer, then you use a hammer. You know what I mean? It's not. To me, it shouldn't be your style of investigating.
Right.
There's some respect that you need to have for not just the location you're in, but for the spirits you're talking to. And hey, they were here before you.
Yeah. Well, that's what made me think of that. You could be in somebody's house and if you're insulting somebody to get a reaction, I mean, you're talking about people who have lived their lives with families, have feelings, and how deeply hurt some people can be if someone's insulting them. And, you know, somebody's grandmother or great-grandmother may have lost loved ones, you know. And also there's the other side. What if it's not basically a human spirit? What if it's something other? Because, you know, it would be egotistical to think that we're the only life forms or intelligent forms on this planet. And there are some things that can't be seen and maybe have not walked the earth in human form, at least not humanity as we know it, because there's been umpteen civilizations we don't even know about in our antiquity. And I like to advise people when they're apt to be calling out something and not doing it very gently. If you could see what you're talking to, you might not ever do it again. If you could actually see who you're hurting and who you're speaking this way to.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. No, it's it's actually a great way to look at it. You know, if you could actually see who you're talking to, you would probably not be talking that way. And I think that's where it could be situational. You know, if you're on a case and you're dealing with, you know, somebody who, and I guess there'd be no way to know for sure, but somebody you're pretty certain was a pretty nasty person when they were alive. Maybe they, you know, were you know, someone who maybe hurt a child or did something to somebody, or, you know, maybe that's somebody you wouldn't mind telling them to go F off. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
exactly.
Maybe you can be a little more like, hey, M or F-er, like, we're here to talk to you. Like,
right.
You know,
exactly. Yeah, it's that side of it too.
If not, you know, and you know that they were in living form as a person, there should be some level of respect there.
Well, believe it or not, we're almost out of time.
Oh, okay.
Because it goes by so quickly, like I always say. But I hope you will come back again.
Please, Keith.
Come back again. We've got so much to talk about, and I'm sure you'll have more adventures too and everything. And
absolutely.
And Sandra says hi, by the way, says hello to you.
Tell her hello, please.
Yeah, sorry she couldn't make it tonight, but
that's okay.
But she does remember. We had so many adventures all together.
Yeah.
Like that time when I said we were doing recordings, do you have something to say to us? And I got the recording back. It said, yes, good night. That was it for the night.
Yeah.
That was it, just going right up.
We're like, okay, well, they say good night.
Okay. All right, Steve.
Thank you, Keith.
God bless you.
Great to see you.
Great to see you, my friend. And we've got to get together again really soon. If it's just for coffee and talk about old times and everything. Mm-hmm. And we'll be back on adventures and in the studio.
Okay.
Good night, everybody. God bless. And again, thank you so much, Steve. You're a wonderful person.
Thank you, Keith.
All right.